checking out some MTV. I haven't looked at this for a while, so just realize what you're about to see is you're going to see me step back from the chart and essentially think out loud of how I'm going to analyze it. And sometimes watching prepared videos is a really good thing too, because it's more efficient, perhaps more efficient, but it's also valuable to watch somebody piece it together, and that's what you're getting ready to see for MTV. So let me make this up small, and here we go. With Bitcoin, the two major EMAs in play right now are the daily 10 and weekly 10. They're getting ready to cross up. I'm going to take off price, and I'm just going to see, is this also getting ready to cross? And it is. So that means by default, this is moving fairly similarly to Bitcoin. Which means somewhere over here was where it might be a little higher, but somewhere over here is where it went sideways for a while, and price is probably here just under it like Bitcoin is. And so this sideways stuff would be like 28 to 31K for Bitcoin, right? So I'm going to make that just kind of observing here. And I can get all of that off the idea that the EMAs are about the same distance away from each other, and it's moving with Bitcoin. So let's put price back on. There we go. I got it, actually. So, however, it is structured slightly differently. And the reason I look at it that way, how does it relate to Bitcoin? It's because some alts get a little squirrely, and the ones that follow Bitcoin more strictly, it's actually easier in a non-bull market to analyze it because it's not going to do weird stuff. So your horizontals and resistances, they're going to stick more, all that kind of stuff. And the timing will be there as well. So these two wicks are going to be huge resistance. Nothing on the monthly, nothing on the 2 week, which is a good thing. For price to be able to go up, there's not resistance on those large time. So the resistance, horizontal resistance, starts on the daily, and that's coming in at 00176. That's your first overhead resistance, 076. And so if it can get continuation up and above this weekly 10, it probably won't have a major pullback until this point. Clearly, unless it's halfway there, then Bitcoin tanks. Then this will go down because of Bitcoin, not because of the chart, and it'll be because bots selling alts because because Bitcoin just went down, as opposed to sellers becoming sellers, right? Okay, but it'll still probably hit this line. Now that means more immediately, it's all about these EMAs, because if you can use these as support, you're going to hit that. If you chop sideways and or just if you go sideways, then start using them as resistance, you're going to have a triple whammy. 1, the weekly 10, 2, the daily 10, 3, this origin line. So if the price of this goes below the juncture of all three of these together, so this triangle is going to be massive. Of massive importance. You might want to draw a triangle similar to this. And let me do it on the 15-minute chart so you can see it a little better. Here we go. If it uses this triangle as resistance, it's going to suffer greatly. But the same thing is true, or the inverse is true. If it can use this as support, it's gonna get a big push up because of this bullish cross. And having used this, interacted with this origin line for so long. Yeah, and therefore the importance of being an altcoin fan who actually focuses on Bitcoin TA, it's going to serve you well here and on 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐜 from the 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐜 analysis, because The best indicator for what it's going to do, perhaps even better than, as weird as this might sound, perhaps even better than the price of MTV itself with this, is what Bitcoin's going to be doing with its weekly 10 EMA next week. How is the weekly closure and how are the very, very small candles interacting with it? And that's going to give you an indication of, is it going to like stay above or slash break above this, or is it going to come below, which means it's probably going to use it as resistance. It'll likely depend on what Bitcoin, how Bitcoin interacts with the daily 10. If it goes below the, or not daily 10, weekly 10. If it uses the weekly 10 as resistance on very small time frames, you can say, oh shit, that's even at the time MTV is not below this, you might start thinking, shit, if Bitcoin doesn't get it back above it, it's going to come down. Maybe it's here when Bitcoin does that, for example. You can say to yourself, shit, this is probably what's about ready to happen. Am I making sense? So use Bitcoin as an indicator, specifically, and just go back to my video from today or from August 11th on Bitcoin, and you'll get filled in with how that's important. And so those are. I'm not going to talk about downside targets, and because we're pretty far away from this happening, so I'm not going to give you farther downside targets, but I am giving you the target for what would initiate the downside move. And that's all, it's an ascending line, so I can't give you just one level. But essentially, I would say the daily 10, as long as it's roughly in line with this origin line. But it's possible that the daily 10 goes up because price spikes up one more time, and then it goes below. But it's using the origin line here as support, which is the bottom of this triangle. So the daily 10 might not be the best thing. Kind of the be all say all is this origin line right. And it's currently roughly at 143, but it's ascending. So next week it'll be 148, example, right? And that is your downside initiator, middle zone, and then upper targets if it can use this middle zone as support for MTV. And again, the upper target you can see here at the top is 00176. It'll very, very, very likely pull back from there. Maybe not reverse from there, but very likely pull back if that level's hit.